Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I was away last week, so couldn't do my review of episode 6 for the Last of Us TV series. So today I'm going to kind of quickly go through episode 6 and 7. Episode 6 was really good, really interesting. You kind of meet the settlement that Maria has built where Tommy is. And I think they did something kind of cool where they kind of jumped ahead a little bit to part two, the game part two, where so in game number one, where you get to the hydroelectric dam, in part two, in the TV show, that is still there, but they've also kind of built, I think it's called Jackson, the little town that you see in part two, where Dina and Ellie live and Joel lives, etc., and I think Jesse. So they kind of brought that in already, and I like this episode because I think on the episode 5 review, I was just saying that I'm liking the show so much, but I'm just not clicking with Joel or Pedro Pascal as Joel. And this episode is very much, I think, a Joel episode, and certain scenes play out quite differently than they do in the game. I think if you remember when Joel first sees Tommy at the dam, they go off privately and have kind of very intense brother reunion where I think it almost becomes a fight. Tommy obviously has strong feelings and emotions about the things that they did at the beginning of the pandemic to survive. Obviously, I presume, they murdered innocent people, probably stole from people to survive. And Joel makes the argument of he was just trying to make sure that they both survived. So that comes up again in this scene, but what you see is Joel struggling and suffering with his health, mental and physical. He seems to be having kind of almost panic attacks and a tightness in his chest, and kind of just loses focus. He has a real heart to heart with Tommy, and this is where they change the scene. It's kind of really emotional, where Joel is very vulnerable and just kind of expresses to Tommy how kind of weak he's become, and that he just can't keep doing this kind of intense, extreme mode of survival where violence and staying sharp and on your feet is very important. So it's a scene where he is asking Tommy to kind of finish the mission and get Ellie to where she needs to go. It also has the iconic scene between Joel and Ellie of you have no idea what loss is, and that scene plays out really well because they both have these kind of emotional peaks in the scene where Joel says that line, and then kind of Ellie does the whole everyone I've loved or known in my life has left me or died except you, and they kind of she really reveals her attachment to him. And so they head over to the university, which obviously looks just like the game, because I obviously presume the game based it off that real location. And then Joel gets injured. That's kind of the big finale of that episode. I liked it. I think the injury is not as dramatic as it is in the game. The game is quite intense. I think he falls off that balcony inside. Some guy pushes him off and he lands on the I can't remember what it is, but it's the sharp kind of item that impales him. Whereas in this episode, a guy comes to attack them outside and Joel kind of deals with it, Joel and Ellie, and then it's only afterwards you realize he's been wounded. So it just felt a little bit clumsy to me, but I'm nitpicking here. So that set us up for the episode that I saw today, which is episode 7. And I have to be honest with you, ladies and gents, my least favorite episode of the series. And I don't want to be too critical, but I think it's the first narrative misstep that this show has taken. So starts off where that home garage place that Ellie has Joel on the floor looking after him. They just parked the horse up inside. Starts off there, and Joel's telling her, just leave me, go back and go get Tommy, and leave me here. And it then cuts back to flashback. So this episode is basically the Left Behind DLC. I believe it's called Left Behind. Which in the game I really enjoyed. Having played the PS5 remake about 3-4 months ago, I really enjoyed playing the Left Behind DLC. I just think it was so charming and sweet, and it was kind of nice to play that gameplay style with two characters who just really like each other and really get along, and there's lots of banter and stuff. So, the whole episode is Ellie and Riley, and it is sweet. Riley's cast really well. It's very much like Left Behind. You have all the little moments when they go into the photo booth. I don't know what they're called. The thing that goes around and you sit on it. Carousel, maybe. Can't remember. It's been a long time since I've been on one of those. And yeah, it just plays out exactly as the DLC, and then you get a few minutes back with Joel and Ellie, where Ellie kind of starts to nurse him after he's been wounded. So I just don't. I'm just not sure what that episode was saying, and I don't really get how it fitted into the grander scheme of things. I think if the flashback to Riley happened maybe a bit earlier, it'd have been a bit better. But I think there's so much going on right now. We had such an intense episode last week with Joel being so flawed and vulnerable and weak, and meeting Tommy Maria and seeing that town. They're getting closer to to finishing the mission of getting Ellie to the Fireflies. And then this episode just slowed it all down. And what it just means now is we have 2 episodes left where we have to tackle the whole David sequence. So if I'm thinking of the game, you got Ellie going out hunting for food, David comes, that kind of fight scene you have with David against all of the clickers. I don't know if that will play out, but when you're in that room, but it's got a staircase you can go up, and you're just almost running around this room, and there's just loads of enemies. It's quite an intense part of the game. Yeah, and then David captures her, and then Joel recovers. There's loads of hunters in the town, which I'm not sure will happen now. And then Joel gets to David's base eventually, and Ellie and David have that boss fight in the restaurant with the knives. So you've got 2 episodes to cover all of the David segment, and then the finale, the hospital and Marlene and everything that happens. So I don't know. I'm hoping that the next 2 episodes are much longer. I think maybe a bit like episode 1, which was about an hour 20 minutes. But obviously, overall, still enjoying the show. Can't wait to see how they wrap everything up, and kind of can't wait to see how they tackle David, etc. But yeah, just not the biggest fan of this episode this week. Just think it was a bit of a sidestep. I don't feel like the narrative moved forward. I'm not sure that added anything, the flashback. You can compare this episode a little bit to episode 3, I think, which is the Bill and Frank episode, where it's about 2 characters, but it doesn't necessarily impact the overall story. Obviously, Ellie's the main character, but the Ellie Riley backstory doesn't really impact what's going to happen in the main current Last of Us storyline. But with the Bill and Frank episode, I just think it was so poignant and kind of showed you that you can find love in this world. You can build a home with someone. You can have something special. I don't know if this was maybe meant to be like a juxtaposition of that episode in terms of these 2, Riley and Ellie, could have gone on to be happy like that, but I don't know, things kept them apart. One being Riley being part of the Fireflies, Ellie being at school, etc. But yeah, I think Yeah, it was the episode I was the most bored in, unfortunately, and kind of just sat there waiting for it to really kick off, which it never really did. But I think some of you guys might really like it. And I think you'll definitely enjoy seeing the Left Behind DLC brought to life. That's for sure. Like they did a great job of that. Like I've that mall and the set that they built, the Halloween store, the carousel, if it's called that. All those things felt just like the game. They play at the arcade, etc. Mortal Kombat gets a lot of love in this episode. So I think, all of that was obviously great, the production standards, etc. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see what happens now in the second last episode. So we're getting there, we're getting close to the finale, and the more and more I watch the show, I really just want to play Last of Us 2 again, because I've not played it ever since my first ever playthrough. So I might have to try that. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying the show, and let me know in the comments what you thought of this current episode. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.